This is KGW News at 11.
And we begin with the story the entire world is watching tonight, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and new developments. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Galen Etlin. A mandatory 39-hour curfew was set in the capital as Russian forces try to take over. The curfew is designed to try keeping civilians off the streets. Many people are taking shelter or even fleeing the country altogether. There are reports of intense street fighting, and air raid sirens were also heard throughout the night. Russia has unleashed a new wave of attacks targeting airfields and fuel facilities. About 200 people so far in this conflict have died, more than 1,000 others hurt. Now, the U.S. and EU are responding by supplying more weapons for Ukraine and adding new, stronger sanctions to Russia's banking system. And back here in Portland, people are voicing support for the Ukrainian people and opposition to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Dozens were downtown today showing support for Ukraine, and they want U.S. leaders to help protect Ukraine from Russian bombers. Many want world leaders to really feel the public pressure to maintain that support. Some people from there who are now living here say today's rally was inspirational.
It means a lot because, well, I haven't really connected with the community in Portland, but I've connected online, so it really shows a lot that there's so much and so many people here.
Organizers do want to see the U.S. provide troops, but President Joe Biden has said he will not do that for now. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, Portland-based Mercy Corps is taking action as well. The humanitarian aid organization is sending a small team to the region to assess how it could help.
My heart goes out to those people who are in those communities. I'll tell you, oftentimes the majority of the people who cannot go are the elderly or people who are disabled in one way or another. And that's the heartbreaking piece of it, right? They don't have jobs, they don't have resources, and they can't go.
Right now, that small team from Mercy Corps is traveling to Poland, and if they can, they'll cross into Ukraine and assess the needs of the people living there. So far, Mercy Corps is not sure if it will mount a humanitarian effort. Leaders say if they do, they plan to be ready.
If the military conflict were to spread dramatically, that would mean urban warfare, which is brutal. It would also mean the displacement probably of large numbers of people.
Now, Mercy Corps says it's likely a few items will be distributed to people suffering right away. And that includes cash, food assistance, water, and shelter. Well, back locally, we know Portland's gun violence is a tough issue to hear about, but it is important to share as we push for more solutions. The latest deadly shooting was today in the Lloyd district. Officers responded to a parking garage near Northeast 2nd and Holiday just after 7 tonight, and they found the victim dead. They have not released suspect information and have not made any arrests either. Homicide detectives are investigating, so anyone with more information should give them a call. Now, Portland police did arrest a robbery and attempted murder suspect from Vancouver today. Vancouver police responded just before 5 tonight near East 4th Plain Drive and Grand Boulevard. They say a suspect robbed a store with a gun before taking off. The person drove into Portland and was arrested near Northeast 33rd and Broadway. That suspect is being held in Multnomah County. Well, things are looking up for the hundreds of victims of a moving scam. Authorities found their missing stuff inside a Salem warehouse, and investigators are now working to reunite people with their lost belongings. KGW's Mike Benner has an update to this story that we've followed since last summer.
What we have right now as we sit here is about between 200 and 250 pallets.
Kieran Ramsey of the FBI giving us a look inside a 30,000 square foot warehouse in Salem. As you can see, it is chock full of things belonging to people scammed by the moving company East Freight Logistics.
Moving scams aren't a new thing. They've been around since moving companies have been in existence.
But chances are not all moving scams are as devastating as the one involving East Freight Logistics, a company KGW first reported on back in July of last year. We spoke to a bunch of people who had East Freight Logistics contracted out to them for interstate moves. Their things were picked up, but oftentimes never delivered.
We heard a lot of the COVID, like we don't have drivers, everybody's sick with COVID, there's transportation delays.
Those are the excuses Michelle Miliori and her husband heard after hiring East Freight Logistics in August for a move from Nevada to Arkansas. The company picked up the couple's things, but then weeks went by and no delivery.
Kind of ironic. We had actually just given up. Like, we kind of just hit like the 6-month mark, and it was like, we're never going to find it. Like, it's not going to happen. It's just hard, I guess.
Chelsea Carnes tapped East Freight Logistics in July to move her and her son from Eugene to Texas. Same thing happened. The company picked up Chelsea's things, but did not deliver any of it to Texas.
Some point I did kind of grapple with I'd lost our things. I felt personally like I let me and my son down because I was supposed to keep track of these things.
Turns out a lot of people were having awful experiences with East Freight Logistics. Many of them contacted detectives who started contacting each other. Through good police work, authorities tracked a lot of the missing belongings to that Salem warehouse, where victims are now coming to retrieve their things.
Coming back here has opened up a lot of new emotions. I was nervous getting here. I didn't know why.
So we feel really blessed. I mean, I think we're one of the lucky people being able to find as much as we have. I haven't heard that same story with a lot of different families.
At this point, we're hoping that within 6 weeks, most victims can come and claim their stuff.
Ramsey says none of this would be possible without the hard work of detectives from the Portland Police Bureau, Salem PD, and the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Ramsey says the people who run East Freight Logistics could face charges down the road, but right now, the priority is reuniting upwards of 300 victims with their missing belongings.
There's a lot of emotion behind this. There's a lot of special things that are in these boxes and on these pallets. People just want their stuff.
All right, it is worth mentioning we did reach out to East Freight Logistics for a comment and have not yet heard back. In the meantime, for information on how to avoid moving scams like this one, you can head to our website, kgw.com. I'm Mike Benner. Now back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you. Police say a 22-year-old involved in some of the violence that we've seen in Portland is now caught. Officers were patrolling the Powellhurst-Gilbert neighborhood last night. There have been significant issues there recently involving gun violence, vehicle thefts, and other crimes. Officers tried to stop a stolen vehicle near Southeast 122nd and Division, but that driver took off. Eventually, Dylan Rhodes stopped and was arrested. And police say he had these 2 loaded handguns, 9 knives, and a hatchet. Rhodes now faces multiple charges. Dozens of people in Portland are marking history with a powerful image today in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They marched across the St. John's Bridge to commemorate the Selma March of 1965. Our Christelle Kumwe shares how local organizations teamed up to host that event for Black History Month.
On this cold Saturday morning, dozens gathered at the St. John's Bridge to walk in the steps of history.
I thought it was very important to do this just because the circumstances and the times that we are, not just Black History Month, but across our nation, to where I feel this is an opportunity to bring people together, all people.
Chad Brown with the local organization Love is King teamed up with Forest Park Conservancy for this march. It honored the work and words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
There's so many barriers that are happening in our lives today. It's going to take a community to come together, and this is a really good opportunity in the spirit of love to bring people together and march across the bridge in the spirit of what Martin Luther King stood for and what he marched for all of us.
After a short presentation about the civil rights movement, the crowd made its way step by step across the bridge.
And that's bringing people together, love, respect, dignity.
Portland's St. John's Bridge March commemorated the historic Civil Rights March in Selma. In March of 1965, civil rights activists, including Dr. King, led thousands of marchers across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. They faced brutal attacks by state troopers. But the movement led to the Voting Rights Act. The reenactment in Portland spoke volumes to attendees like Angela Hernandez.
I think that's incredibly powerful. I think that we are all humans here today, and right now we are going to do this to celebrate history and to just recognize history and recognize how far we've come from the past.
A crowd of all walks of life, side by side, sharing a mission to break barriers.
We can't do this single-handedly. We have to do this together. This is what it's going to take moving forward as a community, in the act of love.